True crimers, partners in crime. This is another bonus episode of our true crime series since it is Thursday, May 8th, and it is not True Crime Friday or Monday. But we are going to get into the case of Lily and Jack Sullivan, missing siblings out of Nova Scotia. And I just need to start off by saying something to the whoever's watching these videos, that I apologize if my disclaimer came off insensitive. I am new to the true crime world of content creation. I have been following true crime day and night for over 5 years, wanting to make my own channel, but too scared to do so. I had a brave moment 8 months ago or so, and I decided to feel the fear and do it anyway. However, I am new to doing this. I'm not new to watching it, but I'm new to, content creation. Like I said, the disclaimer that I've always heard everyone say is for entertainment purposes only. You even see it when you watch the news, like the little blurb, and it will say for entertainment purposes only. So that is what I chose to use. Now, I can understand how maybe certain people would find that insensitive when talking about missing children. That was never my intention. It is just simply a protection. And the whole reason I'm bringing this case up is to try to do a small little part in getting information out there, right? And also creating a safe space for people that want to discuss, speculate, and whatnot. So there it is. I apologize if I offended. I know it was a few people. And that's not my intention. I don't believe this is entertainment. Two children are not entertaining. That is just a disclaimer for legal purposes. So I'm not gonna, that's the only time I'm gonna say it. So what I'm going to say is do a disclaimer, and I've kind of tweaked it. So the following content is based on publicly available information and is intended to inform and engage audiences interested in true crime. These are just my thoughts, my feelings, my speculation. These are not facts. Please form your own opinion. And now, finally, we can get into it because I have some thoughts on this case right now. So overnight, I have done my best to listen to everything I could possibly find on this case. Unfortunately, there's not a whole lot of new information, but, I have read comment sections. I have read about, from local people, and I've listened to every news broadcast I possibly can. So as a avid follower of true crime, this is not uncommon for this at this stage to become almost like a recovery mission, unfortunately. And I do believe, my opinion is that the police know more, and maybe they're looking for certain evidence at this point before they let us know. I find this case extremely suspicious, and it's making me very, 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 I don't know, I have a very bad feeling about it for those two babies. So a few things. As far as the parents, the stepdad and the mother's interviews, there were very matter-of-fact phrases. The mother saying that they were playing outside when they literally are saying they don't know what happened, right? They have no knowledge of what happened because they were sleeping, but they know that they walked out the sliding door. They know that they were playing outside. They said they, found out after the fact, but how did you find out after the fact? If you found out, if you could see it like a video or something, well, then you would know what happened. So they don't know unless it's a script. I did notice in one of the stepdad's interviews that he started off by saying present tense, and then just halfway through, he started talking in past tense. That was interesting. What I also find is interesting, so the mother's left. There was a huge fight between the families, and the stepdad's mother threw everybody off the property. So the mother has left, I don't know by choice or because necessity, but the mother is left with the 18-month-old, and she is with her mother in another province. What I find interesting is now they're not together, and the mother has blocked him. So if this is a script, they're going to have a hard time keeping it together because they're not together, right? And they're probably having a lot of anxiety, if it is a script, in fact, that the other one's going to turn on the other one. Just hypothetically. This is just my thoughts. Another odd thing I found is the mother made a statement that the police have advised her not to talk to media, which in the case of missing children, the police normally advise them to talk to media because they want the whole world looking for these kids. And what better way than to put the mother out there pleading with our emotional side to want to help, to turn in tips, to do what we can to help find the kids. So if that is true, the police did ask her not to talk to media. That says a lot to me. What I heard yesterday about the police is any missing person, they initially view the case as suspicious until they find, evidence otherwise. Now, that's not always the case here in the United States. I feel like, in the case of Sebastian Rogers, I think the police were looking for a runaway and didn't look at any suspicion until it was way late into the case. So I like that they do that and view a case that way. What I heard and I find interesting is, so they have like the scent dogs out and the drones and all the things. But I heard, and I don't know for a fact, that they haven't brought in the cadaver dogs yet. Like they're going to do that now. And maybe there's a reason, but you would think like if they're looking at all aspects, different aspects, they would bring in the different dogs side by side, like looking for cadaver dogs as well as scent dogs at the same time because they don't know what happened. So that's just a thought. So here's my big thought of the day. I don't think the kids were abducted, in my opinion. A lot of locals have said, like, no way. Like, they are adamant. There's no way in this area that they were abducted. And it just doesn't appear to be. Now, I could be wrong, right? But that's just, as following true crime, that's not what I think. But here is my thought and my big question. Who else besides the step-parent, the stepdad and mom, and maybe even the mom, the grandparent, who last saw these children? Was it because they hadn't been in school since Tuesday, I believe, because there was no school Wednesday and they didn't go to school Thursday or Friday. Was the teachers the last people to see the kids? Who last saw the kids besides the family? I need to know that. Like, I want to know that. Because the stepdad keeps talking about this backpack. Now, initially I thought, well, maybe it's because the parents were sleeping and maybe they were going to have a picnic. And so she brought her backpack. But then I got to thinking, because I have always thought maybe Friday wasn't the day. Maybe Friday was just the execution date of the call to the 911 and all of that. But if something did happen, because it is always suspicious that a week where the kids didn't go to school, now they turn up missing. Coincidences, I don't know. But could that have been her school backpack and she never made it home from school and that's why it's missing? Like something happened on the way home. And that's why they haven't been in school. Just a question. Who last saw these children and when? That's just a thought of mine. So I want to know what you guys think, what your thoughts are this far into the case. Where are you leaning? What is your speculation? This is a safe place to talk about it, so let me know in the comments, and I will just keep listening and stay informed. I'm also keeping up with Sebastian Rogers and Summer Wells, and I will, as new information comes in, I will bring it to you here. Take care, stay safe, and I will see you in the next one.